Today is Mardi Gras. I have my Mardi Gras mask on. Mardi Gras is a big deal in my house. It just figures. I mean, it's a big deal for a lot of people down here in South Alabama. But we always get a king cake, and we always have to look for the tiny creepy baby inside. So yeah, happy Mardi Gras. Today we are reviewing an episode of the X-Files that doesn't have anything to do with Mardi Gras. But it is close to Dana Scully's birthday, so I thought we would do a Scully-centric episode of the X-Files, and that is the season 3 episode, Wetwired. Wetwired. When I was a little kid growing up watching the X-Files, I didn't really feel one way or the other about this episode. I mean, it wasn't Jose Chung or Pusher or anything for me. But then when I started rewatching the X-Files, back in 2019, and I got into the X-Files fandom on Twitter, I found out that this episode is a big fucking deal in the X-Files fandom, and for good reason. It's a very good and solid episode. It is written by Matt Beck. I believe he wrote a couple other episodes of the X-Files as well. And it's got a really what is it? Kind of new age, post-apocalyptic techno vibe to it. And I really like that. I love it when the X-Files leans into that with episodes like Kill Switch, Ghost in the Machine, and of course this one, Wetwired. Always makes for a fun ride. So let's get right into it. Why don't we? So the episode begins with this man, and he's just killed this other dude. And he's burying him, and he says, "Your days of killing are over." And the guy buries him, and then he goes home to, like, wash off the blood from his hands. Ew. And then these cops pull up in his yard, and it's the same dude. They're both the same dude that he just killed and buried. And, of course, that's not true. This man's having a hallucination. And the person that he killed and buried was actually his wife. And let me just take this moment to say that this is one of the episodes of the X-Files where no supernatural shit happens. It's completely explained by science, which we'll get into in a minute. And those are the scariest episodes of the X-Files, where there's no monster or beastie or mutant. There's just evil fucking men. And of course, I've always said there's nothing scarier in the world than an evil white man. So then you get the title sequence, and then you see Mulder, and Fox Mulder has just picked up a new sugar daddy. Boy, the man can't go a few episodes without getting a new sugar daddy. Show Fox Mulder a middle-aged man who will absolutely give him the runaround, and he will be on that like stink on shit. And oh boy howdy, do people ever talk about Scully's daddy issues. But Mulder's daddy issues are not just greater than Scully's, they're the whole reason the X-Files exists. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, as Dr. Evil would say. So he goes up to this guy, and the guy hands him this file, and he's being super sketchy. And then Mulder's like, I'm not going to do it. And then the guy's like, yes, you are. And Mulder's like, okay. And there's this vine of this guy, and he's like, and you're going to tell me everything you know. And then the other guy's like, no. And he's like, please, no, please, no, please, no. I'm like, that's Fox Mulder interrogating his sugar daddies. So, of course, Mulder can't say no to this guy. And at this point, I'm like, there's gullible, there's naive, there's, quote, I want to believe, end quote, and then there's fucking Fox Mulder. The most gullible human being on the planet. They go to this psych ward where this guy's being kept that murdered his wife, the guy in the beginning, who thought his wife was like this other guy. He was having a hallucination. Scully gets out of the car, and she's talking to Mulder, and she's like, hey, where did you get this case? And he's like, I don't really want to say. Put a pin in that. I got a lot to say about that. And Scully's like, these men that you're contacting, like these sketchy bastards, you know, that you don't know anything about, who are giving us these quote leads. She's like, they've done us dirty before, you know. And so Scully's got Mulder's number. But yes, let's just talk on and on about Scully's daddy issues. Why don't we? You know, when Mulder has the worst daddy issues of all. So Mulder, of course, tells Scully, like, oh, no, this one's for real this time. You know, like, fucks Mulder, you fucking idiot. I don't think people, when people talk about Mulder, they talk about his desperation, and they talk about, like, how he's tortured, and, like, you know, that's why he just trusts people. And I don't think enough people just think about how fucking gullible Mulder is. Like, and like I said, there's a difference between, like, being the I want to believe cool guy and just being fucking gullible. And Mulder's goddamn gullible. So they go see this guy. He's staring at his television the same way I did when I was 10 years old watching Ren and Stimpy. The 90s kids will get that reference. So the way my kid stares at the TV when fucking Bluey's on or whatever. Anyway, this image comes across the TV screen of this war criminal, this Bosnian war criminal, and this guy starts frigging the fuck out. So they meet with this guy's doctor, and the doctor's like, I don't know what happened to him, you know, I don't know what happened to him. So they go to search this guy's house, and this is one of the, my cat Cookie is attacking an onion. Like, we have a basket of onions on the porch, and she is just like going to town on this onion. Why? Like, what? Why, Cookie? Why are you doing that? Cats, man. That's all I gotta say. Fucking cats. So they go to this guy's house. This is one of the most adorable moments in the X-Files. They find these two kids in this guy's house, and they're eating his ice cream and watching his cable. It really brings me back to the times when I was 11 years old, and I may or may not have sneaked into my neighbor's house to eat their food and watch their cable. When I tell you the 90s was a different time, the 90s was a different time. In the neighborhood I grew up, like, everyone knew everyone. No one locked their doors, you know. So sometimes when I was at home alone and I needed to watch cable, well, that's what the neighbor's house is for. It was very much the 90s version of hawking someone's Wi-Fi, sitting in their driveway, and like sneaking their Wi-Fi. It's very much like that. So there's like the scream. Mulder and Scully like draw their guns, and you don't see what they see, and then Mulder turns to Scully and gives her this little smirk, and it is so cute. They go in there, they like take the two boys by surprise. They're like, we got a pass from school, and Mulder's like, you got a pass to eat these people's foods? And again, I'm like, why can't we have this Mulder? Like, why does he have to be a petulant dick? Like, why couldn't we have gotten this absolute sweetheart of a man, you know? Just, like, and it wouldn't have been hard. Like, you could have had this wonderful character without the problematic shit that they put into his character, and which makes him so detestable to me. So, anyway, there is this other cute moment where they're like, the kids are like, are you going to tell our parents? And Scully's crossing her arms, and like Mulder's like nodding. He's like, mm-hmm. And it's so cute. Again, we were so robbed of seeing Mulder and Scully as parents. Like these two, they would have been wonderful parents, and like we were robbed. Like, we were so cheated out of like watching them raise kids. They would have been so good with kids. So anyway, the two boys leave. One thing someone pointed out on Twitter, this was maybe a couple years ago, is they said, did anyone check up on these kids? Because if you've watched the episode, you know that this television is in this area. The televisions are giving off this transmission that makes people have these murderous hallucinations. And I'm like, did anyone check up on those kids? What happened to them? So, like, what is it? Everyone talks about, like, the things the X-Files should have addressed in the revival. Like, this is one of the things that the X-Files should have addressed. So the kids leave. They say the guy left they got in through the cat door, and they go back out to get out. Oh my gosh, I just spilled my water. Okay. Anyway, they go back out. They go in the direction of the cat door. And Mulder's like, use the front door. And that's just like, it's one of those scenes in the X-Files. It's like, it doesn't move the plot along at all, but it's just adorable as hell. And I love it. It's okay, buddy. It's just water. My boy Thunder is like looking at my spilled water. Very sus. So, they're looking through all these videotapes this guy has, recorded. Again, could this, if this is one of those X-Files episodes where you're asking, like, could this have been made today? Like these videotapes play a very pivotal role in the plot. And of course, people are like, what are videotapes now? Even though I take that back, like, VCR tapes are kind of making a comeback, like vinyl records. But, that, like, could this episode exist today? Because very few people use VHS tapes. Anyway, they're looking through the tapes, and Scully's like, look at all these tapes, Mulder. And he looks at her and he's like, is there anything good? Like, implying their pornography. And Scully gives Mulder this little look. And again, one of my favorite headcanons is Mulder and Scully watch the same pornography. I believe it started in season 1 when Scully, like, caught Mulder watching porn in their shared office, and then she was like, hey, I won't tell on you if you, like, give me a cut of this juicy porno movies. And I believe at this point, this is season 3 in their partnership, they're probably going over to each other's apartments just to have porn nights, just to watch some porn, man. that's what they're doing. So they're looking through the tapes, and Scully's like, these tapes have that war criminal guy that the guy started freaking out at when he saw it on the TV at the psychiatric hospital. Scully also says he went wiggy, and it's so cute. She uses these cute little words in this episode. She says wiggy, she says squirrely, and I'm like, that's so precious that Dana Scully uses words like that just in casual conversation. So, they take the tapes to their motel room, and they start watching them. Mulder comes into Scully's motel room, and he just flops down on her love seat. He just, like, flops down. He's like, I'm home. Let me take my shoes off. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely how you come into your coworker's motel room. Absolutely. What is the Kiki's Delivery Service, the meme, and she just, like, face plants on her bed. She's like, whoa, like, that is Mulder when he goes into Scully's space. Like, he is so relaxed. So Scully's like, I think the things these people that are having these hallucinations, there's been several other people before this man who was shown in the opening sequence. She says, I think these people who are having these hallucinations are being influenced by what they watch on television. At the beginning of the episode, a couple things. Mulder talks about this babysitter who was minding 2 children, and she thought they were wolves, and she attacked them. When I was 11 years old and I watched this episode of The X-Files, I got super excited. I think I was 12 years old, actually. I got super excited because I thought this was going to be a werewolf episode. And I was like, yes, it's going to be about werewolves. It's not about werewolves. Second thing, she's telling Mulder, like, what these people have watched on television has influenced them to do these horrific things, giving them these hallucinations. Scully's right, of course. Like, she's saying, like, these things are tapping into these people's latent and suppressed fears and bringing it out of them. It's not just like wholesale making stable people go insane and like try to murder their loved ones. It's these people have these suppressed fears, and these hallucinations are bringing these murders impulses out of them. I have a lot to say about that. We'll get to it in a second. This mask is like super itchy. The people in New Orleans and Mobile that like wear the mask, do they ever get like itchy and hot? I'm sure they do. So Mulder tells Scully, first of all, he drags her for pseudoscience. And I'm like, that is so fucking rich, Mulder, considering your whole goddamn adult life is based on believing in pseudoscience. Second, Mulder says to her, quote, "This is based on the assumption that people are just vessels who will accept any idea or image that is fed to them and act on that." And I want to say, bro, do you realize you've just described yourself? That is Mulder to a T. He will accept any parascience, pseudoscience bullshit and act on that. That's what he does. So, you know, rich of you, Mulder, to drag people for doing that. And fourth thing, I love Dana Scully to bits. She's my favorite fictional character, but goddamn, does she sound like my mom when I was 10 years old? Just all the things she's saying. She's like, if you watch violent television, you're gonna be violent. Like, that's what my mom said circa 1994. So Scully is so mom in this episode. Just like she's so mom coded in this episode. So Mulder's like, your theory's bullshit. And again, this is a great example of Scully suggesting something that's even a little paranormal and Mulder immediately rejecting it. And look me in the eye and tell me if anyone else had suggested this to Mulder, he wouldn't have lapped that shit up. He would have, okay? And I talked about this in my review of Millennium, like why I believe Mulder reacts to Scully's theories in this way. Like when she suggests something even a little paranormal or supernatural. And I don't really want to discuss that right now. Like I keep saying when I review the episode Revelations, which is my favorite episode of the X-Files, I'm going to talk about that in depth. Why, like, Mulder laps this shit up when someone else tells him, but when Scully tells him, he's like, that's wrong, that's bullshit. Like, and I mentioned this in my review of Millennium, like, why I think my leading theory is, like, in Mulder's mind, when he can prove Scully wrong, that gives his life some kind of stability. In the same way, like, he'll tell himself these stories to make sense of the world and his life. That's his religion. And when Scully, like, steps out of her role as the skeptic and suggests something paranormal, like, that's instability to his little universe. So that's my leading theory. I have some other theories as to why, but I will discuss that at a later date. So Mulder goes to sleep. Scully stays up and watches TV in the dark. And my mom always told me, she's like, don't watch the television with the lights out. And now I know why. Because you'll have murderous hallucinations. And I tell my kid that. I mean, it's no different. Don't people just slowly become their moms? You know, that's exactly what happens. So Scully's watching these tapes. There's this scene of her eating ice, and it's very cute. She's just crunching it. She's like, yum, 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 yum. It's so adorable. So, another thing my mom told me, don't crunch ice. Scully's doing all the things that my mom told me not to do. So then she hears some people talking. The way the audio of these people talking is muted and kind of muffled is very eerie. That's the effects, audio and effects department. Good job. That's really effective. So Scully goes out to get some ice and a soda, and she peeks around the corner, and Mulder's sitting in a car with Smoking Man and handing him a tape and laughing and just having a high old time with Smoking Man. And Scully like slips back behind the wall, and the look on her face is like, oh shit, I've been screwed. So Jillian in this episode, her little mannerisms as Scully going through this traumatic event. Of course, as we know, Scully is having a hallucination. This is not true. Mulder's not working with Smoking Man. Her little mannerisms she has for Scully are so on point. Like, just Scully's body language, it really showcases just the kind of actress Gillian Anderson is, like, to show just how terrified and bewildered this woman is. Like, even in her movements, like when she's like in her motel room, when she's scared and she's hiding, she like ducks down. And I mean, like, that's some good shit. That's some good acting. So, I spilled my water, so I don't have any water, so I might start coughing. So, the next morning, Mulder comes to her room, and he's like, hey, there's been another murder. There's this woman, she was in her house. She's watching this really cheesy knockoff of The Price is Right. I do these rewatch threads on Twitter, and one thing I posted on it was, looks like one sci-fi television show couldn't get rights to use The Price is Right. It's called The Price is Nice, and it's Rob Parker or something. It's like so stupid. I love it so much. It's very much in the X-Files, like they couldn't get rights to Pepsi or Coke or whatever, and they'll just have like Dr. Cola or whatever the fuck. It's definitely in that same vein. So, Mulder and Scully go to this woman's house. She had a hallucination where her husband was in a hammock and he was making out with this woman. She thought he was cheating on her. They get there, and Scully's like, this woman murdered her husband? And Mulder's like, no, this guy's her neighbor. That's one of the most horrific and unfair deaths in the X-Files, okay? This guy was taking a nap in his backyard with his dog, minding his own fucking business. His neighbor comes onto his property and shoots him with a shotgun. I'm like, holy shit, man, that's just unfair, man. So then, again, Mulder's like saying like, oh, this stuff you're saying about this TV influencing people, like, that's like pseudoscience. And I'm like, Mulder, you fucking hypocrite. You goddamn hypocrites. Like, oh my god, Mulder's the worst kind of fucking hypocrite in the world. So, Mulder sees this guy on a power pole messing around with like the power pole. There's a lot of technical stuff in this episode. I'm not even going to attempt to explain it. But just suffice to say that these government spooks are like putting this transmitter on the power poles in this neighborhood, and it when people watch television, it subliminally gives them these hallucinations, these suggestions that taps into their suppressed fears. Scully is in this woman's living room, like, looking around. She looks out the window and just sees Mulder climbing a power pole. And boy, if that isn't coded, my, neurodivergent child is just off doing some bizarre behavior, then I don't know what is. So, she goes out there with 2 cops, and, she's like, what the fuck? He's like, hey, look what I found in this, on this power pole. It's this little, bronze tube. Scully says, let's take it to Agent Pendrell. At this point, when I was little, I was watching it, and I was like, yes, we're going to see Agent Pendrell, who is just, I'm going to have a whole fucking vlog about Agent Pendrell. I love that little boy. He has my entire heart, okay? And I ship Agent Pendrell and Scully until my last breath, all right? That's how I feel about Agent Pendrell. But Mulder's like, no, let's not take it to a real scientist. I'll take it to some fake scientist, says the man who just got done dragging people who believe in pseudoscience. So, whatever. He takes it to the Lone Gunmen. Me and my spouse had this long discussion while we rewatched this episode about the Lone Gunmen and what do they do when Mulder and Scully aren't around? How do they make a living? Do they just, I'm sure they just hack into, like, people's personal stuff and bank accounts. Maybe that's how they make their living. But these 3 grown men just, like, dead ass live together. Like, I love the Lone Gunmen. I love how fucking bizarre they are. Like, you have Langley, who's in his Grateful Dead t-shirt, his long, beautiful blonde locks. You have Froicky, who's dressed like a psychedelic gnome. And then you have Byers, who's in a suit and tie every minute of the goddamn day. What are these guys doing? I want to know about their life. Like, what do they do when Mulder and Scully aren't around? I need to know. Not them doing, like, conspiracy shit. I just want to see their domestic life. I just want to see how they live their life. That's all I want. Is a Lone Gunman domestic life series. So Mulder shows them this transmitter. They tell Mulder, like, yeah, like, this thing, like, is projecting these things through the television that give these people suggestions. It's also cute that anytime Mulder, like, stumps the Lone Gunman, they all turn to Byers. Like, they're like, you handle this guy's bullshit, man. Like, you're in a suit, too. You obviously have a bond with him. It's very cute. So, the Scully is, she's in her motel room, and she's very weirded out. She keeps having these hallucinations that Mulder has betrayed her. Mulder calls her, and she thinks her phone's being tapped. She tears her motel room apart, which is very, the movie, No Country for Old Men, which is one of my favorite movies. There's a lot of people, like, tearing motel rooms apart in that movie, and it's got those same vibes. So, Scully, is very wigged out. She hears someone at her door. She thinks it's Mulder and the Smoky Man come to kill her. It's actually the motel room manager. She almost blows his head off. This poor guy. My God. Like, he's having a fucking day. It makes me wonder if Mulder and Scully were ever blacklisted from staying at motels. Like, did motel managers across the country just get together and be like, these two? Nope, they can't stay here. Forget it. And no way can they stay here. Every time they come, they're like saying, like, every time these two come here, the rooms end up being trashed at the least. And at the most, someone ends up getting murdered, or both. So, like, I really think a lot of people got together, a lot of motel managers got together, and they said, like, these two can't stay here. Like, they're out, man. So, Scully runs off. you see Mr. Skinner, and I love Mr. Skinner, but boy, oh boy, is he ever, like, throw Scully under the bus in this episode for some fucking reason. Which makes no sense. Scully is his favorite. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And he's, like, telling Mulder, he's like, well, you better get to her first, or, you know, people are just gonna kill her. Like, I'm like, goddamn, Mr. Skinner, really? So, Mulder, you see, Maggie Scully, Scully's mom. You see, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Mulder's calling her, and you get this great scene of her nightstand, and there's photos on her nightstand. You see her with baby Dana. You see young Maggie with baby Dana, which is just so cute. And you see Scully's, like, high school glamour shots. They're so cute. I got a couple of those too. And then you see her sister Melissa, and man, when I saw that photo of Melissa, I was just a mess. I started sobbing. And again, you get this great moment where it's like this man Mulder's calling Maggie again, saying, like, one of your daughters is in danger because of me. It's pretty much it. Like, people talk on and on about how Mulder is like Maggie's adopted son, and she loves him so much, and she always wanted Scully and Mulder to be together. And I'm like, where the fuck are you getting this? Like, Maggie has every right to hate this man who is just constantly endangering her baby girl. Like, I've never seen it. It's delusional. So, maybe fanfic Mulder, which is just a whole different creature than canon Mulder. You know, if he settled down and, like, yeah, like, he's actually going to be considerate of Scully and her feelings and what she wants. Like, yeah, like, I could see Maggie, like, saying, like, okay, he's going to make a change and, like, be good to my daughter. But, like, now, canon Mulder, Maggie has every right to fucking hate him, okay? So he calls Maggie. He says, like, Scully's in danger again. And you just hear it in Maggie's voice. Sheila Larkin, goddamn, give her all the fucking Emmys. She's amazing. You hear it in Maggie's voice, and she's like, motherfucker, you've put my daughter in danger again. So, the next scene, you see Mulder at, he gets this call. He goes back to see the Lone Gunmen. He tells the Lone Gunmen that he's colorblind, which apparently makes him immune to these suggestions that these TV transmissions are giving off. He tells the Lone Gunmen, I'm red-green colorblind. And it's one of those things. It's like Mulder's Fear of Fire. Like, the fandom remembers it forever, and this show immediately forgets it. Like, they're like, continuity, we don't know her. And then he gets this call. My cat's playing with a ball. She's so cute. Maybe you can see her. Let me see. Maybe you can see her. She's playing with that ball. There she is. She loves playing with her ball. Cookie just wants to be friends with everybody. She's such a sweetheart. So, unlike my other cats who just have a feline civil war going on over here. So, the Mulder gets a call that they found a body. They think it's Scully. He goes to this morgue. He sees the sketchy, his new sketchy sugar daddy from the beginning of this episode. This guy's like, hey, follow the evidence. You're wasting time looking for your partner. Mulder kicks the man's car door, and it's very hot. Like, I don't like Mulder, but that's pretty fucking hot. Mulder goes in there. The coroner's like, we found this woman's body. He's gonna open the blinds to, like, show Mulder the dead woman in this room, and Mulder's like, I'll do that. Yeah. Why couldn't we have had this Mulder? Like, why? And it's like the elements in Mulder that I love, like his gentleness and his compassion. Like, I really love them. And that's why I can't just despise Mulder's character. but it's his problematic behavior. Like, I can't love him. And again, like, every time I see moments like this, I'm like, why couldn't we have had this character who didn't have any of the problematic bullshit? You know, why did Chris Carter and the writers want to leave that in? Like, what's the reason? It wouldn't have made the show better. It would have made the show better to leave that out, actually. Anyway, so I open the blinds. It's not Scully. This show loves to, quote, fake us out that it has killed off Dana Scully in some obscure way, like in a Monster of the Week episode. Fuck you, whatever. So he goes to Maggie Scully's house. On my rewatch thread on Twitter, I said, well, we know where Scully got her boss bitch personality from. It's definitely from Maggie. Maggie opens the door. She's like, get the fuck out of here, man. Get off my fucking property. Mulder does what he loves to do. He just barges into someone's home. Fuck you, Mulder. Boy, that's his MO. And Scully comes out of there with a fucking gun. She's gonna kill him. Her mom's like, please don't shoot this man. Don't be a murderer over this piece of shit. And Scully has her gun on Mulder, and I have several things to say about this scene. She keeps shouting at her mom. She's like, he's the man who helped do this. He's the reason I was abducted, why I had that chip put in my neck. And as she's saying these things, it's the show's like saying like, oh, but she's hallucinating. This isn't true. But as you listen to her, you're like, yeah, that's true. Like, Mulder's quest is the thing that got her into these situations. Him putting his quest over her is what is the cause of these things. And Mulder fucking knows it. Another thing is, a lot of people say if the roles had been reversed and Mulder had been influenced by these transmissions and he was having hallucinations, a lot of people say, oh, it would be the same way. Like, Mulder would be, his greatest fear would be Scully betraying him. I call bullshit on that. Okay? Mulder's greatest fear would be him never finding out about extraterrestrials, never finding out about his sister. It would have nothing to do with Scully. My spouse had a really cool theory that said his greatest fear would be finding out what happened to Samantha. Because my spouse said Mulder having that, like, he never knew what happened to Samantha. Like, that's a comfort to him. There's still hope that he can have a resolution, that he can have his resolution. Like I said, Mulder's not on a quest for Samantha. He's on a quest for validation. And his quest for validation being over, I believe that would be his greatest fear. Or like not finding out about aliens or his sister. I don't think his greatest fear would have anything to do with Scully. If that were so, if his greatest fear was Scully betraying him, he would be more considerate of her in their day-to-day relationship, like Scully is of him. All right, like, and that's just the truth. All right, that's how it is. And another thing is, there's a whole this episode is just, what does John Mulaney say? Like, that's a lot to unpack. Let's just throw out the suitcase. That's how this episode is. These hallucinations are born from people's suppressed fears, their latent fears, which means Scully has these fears of Mulder's betrayal, and that's because she can sense Mulder keeping things from her, because he absolutely keeps things from her. And this is going out to the crowd who says Mulder tells Scully, like, you're the only one I trust, you know. Okay, if she's the only one Mulder trusts, why does he keep things from her? And this is from everything from details about a case that he needs to tell her, both to solve the case and for her own fucking safety. And I don't know, things like, I don't know, fucking keeping her ova from her. You know, he literally pockets her ova and keeps it from her until he's like, oh, LOL, I had these, you know, instead of just immediately telling her this and addressing that. But, oh, you know, he trusts Scully more than anyone, right? So why doesn't he fucking act like he does? So it makes me livid. It really makes me livid. So, Mulder, like, we'll get to, oh my God, we will get to, Memento Mori, where Mulder finds Scully's ova and keeps it in his pocket and then takes it to a facility without her knowledge. And then in season 5, when she's trying to get custody of her daughter, he brings it up in a way where it's like not even like addressing her. He's just like telling another person. He's like, oh yeah, and also I kept her ova from her. Okay, if Mulder trusts Scully above all other people and he, like, loves her above all other people and his greatest fear is her betraying him, why does he fucking treat her this way? Okay, like he doesn't. Riddle me that. All right, like Ed Helms would say. So, Maggie talks Scully down, which is just fucking telling. And again, like, this is Scully's subconscious saying, like, I can trust my mom, I can go to her, but I can't trust this man. Yeah, there it is. Like, that's the most telling bit of evidence, you know. Seeing Scully, like, collapse in her mom's arms like a little girl who just wants her mom is heartbreaking. Like, and I've always said the most emotional moments in the show have fucking nothing to do with MSR. They're between the Scully women. Like, I will give all the MSR moments for like one moment between the Scully women, because it's just, that's more emotional to me than any MSR shit. So, Mulder goes to see Scully in the hospital. Fuck you, Mulder. Even when he does the cute little thing where he holds his arms up, I'm like, I don't forgive you, man. You're a piece of shit. So, Scully's like, I felt like everyone was out to get me. And then Mulder's like, LOL, and now you know how I feel all the time. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, you fucking privileged white man. And as Michael Che would say, and I rolled my eyes so far back in my head, I passed out. So, Mulder talks to Scully's doctor. And this woman plays the cult leader in Genderbender and one of the cult members in Red Museum. So this woman is good at one thing. Well, she also plays a doctor in this episode. Amazing actress, love her. She tells Mulder, like, hey, I don't see any, like, methamphetamine abuse that Agent Scully had, or, you know. So, Mulder calls up, or he tries to call up this doctor that was at the beginning, who was treating the first man who murdered his wife, and they can't find him. Mulder finds out that the number was coming from the hotel him and Scully were staying at, and he's like, oh, again, like, oh boy, I wonder if Mulder was set up by his sugar daddy. Oh gee, I wonder if he was, like Scully warned him he was. Mulder tracks the doctor and this sketchy sugar daddy he met at the beginning of the episode to this very rundown house. Mulder's creeping around in the bushes like a little cat. There's people in this neighborhood, like walking their dogs, mowing their lawn, working in their roses. I always thought it would be so funny to, like, what are you looking at, baby? My cat Cookie's looking at something. I don't know what she's looking at. Maybe you can see Cookie. Cookie! Kitty, kitty, kitty. Hey, baby. Hey. She's a pretty girl. She's a Berman cat. I love her so much. And there's my new boy. You want to get up in my lap? Come on, kitty, kitty. There's Thunder. There's Thunder Boy. So, I always wanted people who were, like, doing yard work or walking their dog or whatever to, like, find this FBI agent just, like, skulking around in their bushes. Be like, what the fuck is this guy doing here? So I would have thought Mulder's a fucking crackhead or something. The Mulder goes into this house. It's the sketchy doctor and his sketchy sugar daddy from the beginning. And then Mr. X comes in and shoots the motherfuckers. So, Mr. X is like, hey, I gave you this on a silver platter, man, and you were supposed to figure it out, but since you didn't, I had to kill these two rubes. And Mulder's yelling at Mr. X. He's like, I'm going to shoot you. You're not going to get away. And boy, oh boy, Mr. X has Mulder's number, don't he? Like, he tells Mulder, and he told him this in one breath. He's like, you love the chase, spooky boy, but you're not strong enough to follow through. And boy, oh boy, does... like, and it's like I said, like, that's Mulder's greatest fear. Like my spouse was, like, dead on. He's like, Mulder's greatest fear is, like, finding out the truth about Samantha and about extraterrestrials, because his addiction, the chase, will be taken away from him. So that's how I see things. And then you see Mr. X, and he goes see Smoking Man, because they're in cahoots. Of course they are. This is the penultimate episode of season 3. Penultimate. There's that word again. I do a lot of those episodes. I review a lot of those episodes. And as is most penultimate episodes in seasons of the X-Files, this one predicts... my boy Moon's hollering over there. He's such a vocal boy. It predicts, like, what's going to come in the seasons to come, what's going to happen. The Smoking Man's like, what'd you tell Mulder? And he's like, LOL, I don't know. He got this from an outside source. I don't know who. Winky face emoji. And this very much predicts, like, Mr. X's death. And I love Mr. X. I said on my rewatch thread, Mr. X is vastly more interesting than 11 seasons of Fox Mulder. Like, I don't know this guy's story. First of all, he's played by Stephen Williams, who's one of my favorite actors. And then just, like, God, like, he's just... I want to know about him. I want to know, like, he has implied, like, I started off as Mulder trying to find the truth and got sucked into this conspiracy by these government goons into the shadow government. Like, that would be a fucking awesome spin-off series. Like I said, like, this show really has characters like Mr. X and Cassandra Spender and Scully and Melissa Scully, and they really lean into this fucking boring alien boy. Like I said, that's the X-Files in a nutshell. They're given all of this, the best options, the best potential, and they really choose the worst option. It's a good description of the X-Files. So that's Wetwired. We got through it, man. Almost 49 minutes. Follow me on Twitter. I am at raccoons_dead. Follow me on Tumblr. I am at Just Awful X-Men Art. Follow me on Instagram. I am at Dead Raccoons Draws It, and I am at Dead Raccoons on DeviantArt. And of course, I'm here. Leave a comment. I'm going to be going through a lot of season 3 episodes in the vlogs. So, drop me a line. Say, like, hey, you should review this underrated episode of the X-Files. You should review this overrated episode of the X-Files. Tell me why you think they're overrated or underrated. I will see you later. Happy Mardi Gras. Mwah!